Hi, everybody. Welcome to Tailgate Talk. I'm Mike Joy. Did you know that 3 of America's 5 best-selling vehicles are pickup trucks? And the pickup fans are likely to be race fans, and, well, that's what our show is all about, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Here's what we have for you today. Our special on-set guest is the driver of the Exide Batteries Craftsman race truck, Chuck Bound. We'll go away from the track outside the infield with Sue and Mike Bliss. We'll go inside the sheet metal to look at how airflow affects braking on Craftsman race trucks. Plus, we'll preview the action next week at I-70 Speedway in Odessa, Missouri. We're off to the short tracks once again, and our short track specialist is Kenny Wallace, who drives a Square D Thunderbird on the Winston Cup circuit. Short tracks, brakes. The two are synonymous. Either you got good pedal or you don't, and I know what that feels like.
You don't stop.
No.
Yeah, brakes are probably the most single important thing on the short tracks. With the Winston Cup cars weighing 3,400 pounds, running at Martinsville or even Richmond, where you're trying to beat everybody into the corner, we abuse them. And sometimes you got to race in the middle of the race, to race to save your brakes at the end. But, at the end of the race, when you need to have them to go for the win, you better make sure they're there. So the team does everything they can do to get cooling, to make sure the fluid doesn't boil over, and you aerate them, and that creates no pedal. So there's a lot to go into brakes, and they are the single most important thing to win in a short track race.
Well, it's time to take a look at what's news in Craftsman Truck Series racing. Let's take you around the circuit.
The Craftsman Truck Series is becoming more and more spread out across the country. And with the busy schedule, teams don't always have a chance to make the long trip back to their home shops to do mechanical work in between races. So, throughout the country, Craftsman truck teams can arrange to work on their machines in Sears Auto Centers, sister division to title sponsor Craftsman.
There are approximately a little over 1,000 auto centers around the U.S. who have given an open invitation, basically, to all the driving teams to allow them the use of a bay in their shop while they're in the area for the race. So they've got a roof over their heads.
And while most accessories on the outside of NASCAR vehicles are decals, such as head and tail lights, the additional third brake light found on the back of the cab of pickup trucks is the real McCoy on Tammy Jo Kirk's Ford F-150.
You see the original brake lights on the back of our truck, and when most of these guys take and fill them in and put a decal on them, and I told the guys, I said, this is a real truck out here. We need to put the real stuff on it, so we put the real brake light thing on it, and I think it looks real good.
When we come back, we'll meet the driver of the Exide Batteries Ford, Chuck Bound.
I'll tell you what, Chuck Bound's got a great opportunity to drive for Jack Roush, Exide Ford, and he should be a threat because he's won championships and he's won races.
Former Busch Grand National champion. We'll meet him after this.
Welcome back to Tailgate Talk. Today, our special guest on the set this week, Mike has got the man who has sat behind the wheel of a Winston Cup car, a Grand National car, and now he drives the Exide Batteries Ford for Roush Racing. I'm talking about my buddy who I was really competitive with back in '91 on the Grand National Series, Chuck Bound.
Well, Chuck Bound is from a racing family. Your dad raced, you married the daughter of a famous racer. Was there any time in your growing up where you thought you might pursue another career?
I really don't think so, Mike. I think I pretty well had my eyes set on driving race cars since I was 12, maybe even less than that.
You had a lot of success up near your home in the Pacific Northwest, in NASCAR North in New England, won the Busch Series Championship, came to Winston Cup, and you had a frightening wreck at Pocono that, well, it would have ended most careers, and for a while ended yours.
For 9 months it ended it, unfortunately. It was a situation where I had double vision, and I just had to patiently wait for it to go away, and finally it did, so I got back behind the wheel again. I missed it.
Was it tough coming back, or was it easy knowing what you had accomplished and what you knew you could accomplish?
I don't think coming back was really very difficult. I think the only thing that was difficult about the whole ordeal was knowing whether it was going to completely go away and I could come back. Once I could see improvement after 5-6 months down the road of testing, I knew it was coming around, and I knew it wouldn't be long, and I'd be able to race again. So when I finally got my chance to get back in a race car and race, I did a long test about a week before at Bristol, which is a high bank, fast, 15-second half mile puts a lot of demand on eyesight. And I figured if I could run 50, 100 laps there, consecutive, consistent, fast, I was ready. And I did that, and I felt I did it in flying colors, so I went racing. Darlington was my first race back, so it went pretty good.
Things worked around, and you bounced around through a couple of rides, and then this opportunity came with Jack Roush. How did this come about?
Well, I was basically looking for something for the 97 season. My goal was get the best ride you could get. I had been in Winston Cup the previous 2 seasons on part-time basis and didn't have any success, and I decided that I wanted to get the best ride I could find. I didn't care what division. So when I heard Jack was thinking about starting a second team in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, I let him know I was interested, and he thought, wow, you're interested, this is good. So we just kind of got together, and then fortunately Exide Batteries come on board as a major sponsor, and we put together a race team, and here we are running for the championship in 1997, and it's been a lot of fun.
Now, you folks put this deal together in the middle of last year. What was it like having to wait again for your opportunity?
Well, I guess that was hard. Once I signed, I couldn't wait for the 97 season to get going. I've never raced with an operation like Roush Racing, with the resources they have, the people behind them, the entire program, the budget's there, everything's there, and that's what it takes to be successful in racing. But the hardest thing for me was this spring when we finally, or this winter when we finally ran our first race in January, and then we had all this time off, and then we run a couple more, then we have all this time off. Now we're finally going at it every week, and that's what I like.
The truck team is based in Michigan?
Well,
that's kind of different. Most everybody else in North Carolina or some on the West Coast.
Well, you look at the truck schedule, though, and we have 26 events, 25 different states. I don't think it matters where you're located. A lot of them are in the Southeast, but a lot of them are on the West Coast. Some are in the central United States, New England. They're all over the place. And Jack has a lot of businesses in Livonia, Michigan, and he can kind of keep an eye on it. The Trans Am race teams are located in the same building with the Craftsman trucks. So,
is there much transfer of technology between the two? They're very different kinds of racing, but...
Well, my entire team is almost Trans Am people. As a matter of fact, my crew chief was telling me just the other day, if you added up the total experience that all my team members combined have in stock car racing, NASCAR-style stock car racing, he says we wouldn't be talking years of experience, we'd be talking months.
Oh, boy.
But I tell you, they're doing a heck of a job. They're adapting very well. Sometimes I think it might be an advantage. I'm not sure.
Well, certainly it's a different point of view and a different way of looking at it. How about you and your Roush teammate, Joe Ruttman? Do you folks trade information back and forth?
I think we do quite a bit, a great deal, probably as much as 2 teams can. His truck's prepared about 10 feet away from mine. They're right across the shop from each other. And notes for setups, stuff that Joe did last year, because Joe was with Roush Racing all through the 96 season. And that's helped my team. My team's a new team with Roush, a second team, but we've had this information to draw from. Joe's crew chief's, been more than cooperative, getting out the notebook and letting me know what Joe used, and just different things they've learned along the way. And it's been a big, big help. They've worked hard at R&D and chassis and suspension components, and I think they've got some pretty good pieces put together up there now. So we just kind of got to walk in and copy everything and get out their books and get started.
Well, certainly Jack is one fellow who knows how to make 2 and multiple car teams work. Chuck, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Mike.
Coming up, the battles for the bonuses are heating up. We're going to get you up to date on who's leading what, and we'll take a look at the lives of Sue and Mike Bliss. Welcome back. The drivers have raced 6 events so far this season, and Kenny, some of that money we've been talking about is starting to pile up.
It sure is. There's so many awards, it's really hard to keep track of all of them.
Well, let's take a look at how some of the special award point standings are going after 6 events complete.
In the Featherlight Trailers Long Haul Award Chase, Rich Bickle leads Jack Sprague and Mike Bliss for the $10,000 year-end bonus. Featherlight points are given to each race winner. And the top 3 drivers are the same in the hunt for the $10,000 in bonus bucks in the Gatorade Frontrunner season standings. The award is presented to the eligible halfway leader at every race event. The MCI Fast Pace standings shuffle with Mike Bliss and Jack Sprague sharing top honors. Ron Hornaday Jr. and Bob Keselowski are tied as they all compete in the long-distance run for $10,000. The award is presented to the quickest lap leader of laps 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 at every race. Busch pole points have Jack Sprague and Rich Bickle tied for first in the $6,000 bonus run. with Tucson pole sitter Michael Dokken and Joe Ruttman tied with 1 pole each. Cintas Rookie of the Year standings find Kenny Irwin Jr. with a commanding 25-point lead over Rick Crawford and Stacy Compton. Cintas rookie points are awarded to the top 2 rookie finishers at each race, and a $7,500 bonus can be collected at the end of the season. The Ray Bestos Top Stopper Award, which holds another $10,000 pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, is led by Rich Bickle with almost double the points of second-place contender Joe Ruttman and third-place Jack Sprague. And the Plasticoat Quality Finishing Award, presented to the winning team's crew chief and based on the team's best average finishing position for the year, is led by Rich Bickle's crew chief, Dave McCarty, followed by Dennis Conner on Jack Sprague Chevy and Mike Cheek on Butch Miller Chevy. The Bentvisor brand Super Deflector Award is presented to the driver leading the most laps in each race, and the season-end overall lap leader collects a $5,000 bonus. Jack Sprague is the overwhelming favorite to date with 356 laps led. He's followed by Ron Hornaday Jr. and Mike Bliss. And in the Manufacturers' Championship standings, 1996 award winner Chevrolet again leads the pack with 48 points and 4 wins. Ford follows with 38 points and 2 victories, and Dodge rounds out the points with 28.
There's a lot of money up for grabs here, as you can see.
For a young series, boy, there's a lot of money up for grabs.
All right, now honest. When you're driving that race car, are you driving with one hand on your wallet? You're a family guy. I mean, you got a family to support and all, but can you really think about the money?
I've got an old adage. It's like this. As long as you can keep the wife and the family safe and happy at home, as long as I can race, that's all I'm worried about.
So then everything else is a bonus?
If you got it.
Well, let's let that bonus bucks pile up.
I like money, I can tell you that.
You know, throughout the NASCAR racing community, you'll find one common thread, and that is family. So our next segment is devoted to the families of racing.
This week, we're going outside the infield with Sue and Mike Bliss.
Normally, a typical day in the Bliss family would be, I would be going to work 12 hours at a nail salon that my sister-in-law owns, and then hop on a plane and meet Mike wherever he happens to be racing at that time. We're in the process of moving to North Carolina, and we're planning on traveling the season in a motorhome. So it'll definitely be a big change in our lives, and hopefully within a year we'll build a home. And it's really hard to have any sort of a normal family life with the travel. We are apart a good 9 months out of the year, and that's why we're making this move, so that we can spend a little more time together. It is pretty tough. There's a lot of separation, a lot of phone calls. The other wives, the other family members of teams, and they really help a lot. You know, we compare notes, and it helps a lot to be involved with the other people in racing, and you sort of feel like you're not the only one going through some of this. He's a pretty good guy. He's pretty easygoing, a little bit of a neat freak, but you know, a woman tends to like that. He keeps the house clean. His favorite thing is a vacuum cleaner, and that is what he asked for his birthday. So, and he got a Cadillac vacuum cleaner, I must say. We actually like a lot of outdoor things: biking, boating, going to the movies. We're kind of trying to have a normal life, like everyone else does. You know, with going to dinner, and we watch every race that is ever on television, old or otherwise. Actually, I was interested in racing before I met Mike. But it was drag racing, so but we've been together about 10 years. We've been married 8, and after meeting him, I became involved in the more open wheel, circle track type racing. So, you know, it's been pretty much all my life I've been interested. So it just sort of worked out that when we met, he was involved in racing. His team is very efficient, and they really don't leave much for me to do. So I try and stay out of the way, and I'm there for him if he needs moral support or during the halftime break or bring him water. Pretty much I'm just there to watch, and I listen on the radio, and they're hopefully at Victory Lane at the end. I'm planning on managing his career for him, keeping track of him, doing travel arrangements, and taking care of all the financial end. I try and make sure that that the fan mail is answered, and hopefully in a timely fashion. There are times when I get a little behind, but and I try and make sure that we have T-shirts and hats for the fans when the need arises, and kind of keep track of all of that for him and make sure it's taken care of. He's a great guy. He's a very down-to-earth person, so I think a lot of people can identify with that, with him. The best moment, I would say his win at Monroe, being close to home, being a track that he had driven on frequently, and I was there. It meant a lot to me, and I was very proud of him. It was great. He really tries to be understanding when maybe I've had a bad day, or I'm being a little resentful that I had to mow the lawn or take out the garbage. But he surprises me a lot. He'll send me airline tickets to meet him, and he definitely funds my shopping. We do attend dinners and different functions for ASE and Wagner Brake, and it's actually a nice, enjoyable time. We're able to spend time with the different sponsors and meet with people and kind of give them a view of what their product is, which is Mike. And I know I'm biased, but Mike is an awesome driver. He definitely is very gifted, and I'm very proud of him.
How about it, Kenny? Are you on the neat side or the messy side?
I'm kind of like in between. It's a lot of work to be neat. It's not so much work to be messy, but I'm in between.
I know what you mean. I have stuff spread out everywhere, the whole house. I know where it all is, but
you got to search for it.
It's everywhere. Well, our design shop will be open when we come back. You'll see how good air finds its way inside the sheet metal of the braking systems on a Craftsman truck. On the way, take a look at this week's Tailgate Trivia. Which driver led the first official lap in a Craftsman Truck Series race?
This SpeedVision program is brought to you by Purolator Pure One Filters. You can't buy better engine protection.
Which driver led the first official lap of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series? Now, it's a trick question because the Winter Heat Series doesn't count. Ron Hornaday Jr., February 1995 at Phoenix International Raceway. Well, as we promised, it's time to take another look behind the sheet metal in our design shop. This week, Kenny takes us through those inlets in the front bumper and onto the braking system on a Craftsman race truck.
The braking system on a NASCAR Craftsman truck isn't a whole lot different from the one used on your regular street truck. The real difference is in how they're used or abused. You can drive your truck thousands of miles on one set of pads or shoes for a couple of main reasons. The first is at the speed you drive your street vehicle, it takes a lot less force from your foot to the pads and rotors to stop you. The second is when you do use your brakes, even in heavy traffic conditions, you rarely apply them long and hard enough to heat the brake surfaces at any length of time. On a race truck or car, the brake surfaces can heat up to such high temperatures that the brake fluid almost literally boils in the lines and becomes full of air bubbles, leaving without adequate pressure in the brake lines. That's why air circulation to the brake is so important. The last thing you want to have happen on a rugged short track is to step on the floor and find out there's nobody home. So here's a closer look at how it works.
Slowing down a 3,400-pound Craftsman race truck can create brake rotor temperatures nearing 1,000 degrees. To keep pad, rotor, and brake fluid temperatures down to effective operating ranges, air is directed from inlets on the front bumper through ducts and tubing, and then through specially fabricated cowlings around the brake assembly, keeping a consistent flow of fresh, cool air to the brake components.
That's one of the biggest challenges these teams face, is trying to get enough cool air to those brakes. On an upcoming design shop, we'll look at the steering system of a Craftsman race truck. Right after we take a quick break, Kenny and I and some of the Truck Series racers will preview this weekend's event at Odessa, Missouri. If you'd like to comment, contribute, or just sound off to us here at Tailgate Talk, you can do it by dropping us an email on the World Wide Web at www.speedvision.com. We'd like to hear from you. The Craftsman Truck Series is headed for Kenny's home state of Missouri. Tell me about I-70 Speedway in Odessa.
Odessa, Missouri. I grew up racing in that area, watching Larry Phillips and my brother Rusty. Odessa is a big half-mile high banked, and it's got a dogleg down the back straightaway. It's kind of hard to see on TV, but you get it pretty close to the pit gate. You race up off of the corners. So it's a type of racetrack where it's hard to get around on the outside, up off the corners, and try to beat the guy to the next corner.
It's a half-mile racetrack, bank 28 degrees. The back straight's bank 7 degrees. But that back straightaway with that dogleg, it's 75 feet longer than the front straight. Does that make it a tough track to gear for?
It does, because it really shows up when you're in the truck. So up off of turn 2 is a little bit longer straightaway.
What's coming up?
We talked to some of the Truck Series drivers about racing at Odessa.
Ran there once last year. Had a few problems. I actually enjoyed that track. You know, we had problems during the race, but it's the type of track, you know, it's got some banking and not quite as much as Bristol, but definitely got more banking than, say, Monroe, but I think it ought to be a good place.
Yeah, Odessa, great racetrack. Got high bank. I love the high bank racetracks. Ran really good there last year. Looking forward to going to I-70 there.
It's a great track, and I remember I-70 from last year because it was one of our pole positions, and I was really proud of that pole position. The only thing that was wrong with it was I made my quickest trip from the front to the back ever. I didn't know it was possible to get a lap down that quick from pole position.
Odessa will be actually a home track for IWX Motor Freight down in Springfield, Missouri, so that's a track we're really concentrating on and really want to do well there in front of the hometown crowd.
For Odessa, you get a lot of compression because of the banking, so you got to stiffen them up a bit, but it's you know, this truck series is tough, and there's good competitors, you know, in the top 25, and so you got to have everything, all your ducks in a row right when you get off the truck.
Well, I think, you know, I've run Odessa before and hope I have an advantage there because these other racetracks like here in Portland, I've never been there, so at least I know that racetrack, and I like the higher bank tracks too, so maybe we can do better there.
Odessa's always an action-packed race. Should be a lot of fun. We're about out of time, but before we leave, let's take a look at what we'll have for you next week on Tailgate Talk. Our special guest in the studio will be the owner of the Ortho Chevy Craftsman Truck Team, Charles Hardy.
We'll review the action from Odessa and preview the trip to the New Hampshire International Speedway in Loudon.
Plus, we'll recap the point standings, bring you the news of the Craftsman Truck Racing Series, and your favorite and Kenny's, our 2-minute mechanic, will be back.
That's right, and next week we'll be talking about carburetors and fuel injection.
Ah, all right, I'm going to get you. Does your car have a carburetor or injectors?
I don't know, I've never lifted the hood. Terrible.
My co-host. Folks, he'll still be with us next week, so tune in to another installment of Tailgate Talk. Let me show you where the hood latch is.
I don't know.
We'll go find it.